So we enter into one of the most magnificent chapters of the Gita, and of course, S is on the Gita. It's chapter 11, which is titled as Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. It's the vision of the world spirit, Vishwarup. So the form of the world spirit. So divine is not just a formless reality. He can assume a form, and he does assume a form for the sake of the devotee and for the sake of the work that he is doing in the world. So the background is very interesting. This is chapter 34th of Essays on the Gita, the vision of the world spirit, time the destroyer. So there are two aspects of this vision. One is the divine as the destroyer, and behind the divine as destroyer, we discover the divine as the what we normally want to see, the beneficent, the creator who holds everybody in his calm, by his grace, he governs. So, but this is the aspect that Shri Krishna reveals to Arjuna. So, the background is that Arjuna has been given the yoga, all the details of the yoga basically have been revealed to him. And then he asks a question very naturally, because up till now he has dealt with Sri Krishna as a friend. And with all these revelations, now his curiosity and thirst has increased. So one should not be too satisfied with experiences. One should go till the very end. So Arjuna is like that. He has been revealed the teaching. All that he needs to do has been given to him, but he seeks further. And he wants to behold that divine form of the cosmic spirit. And so Shri Krishna says that you cannot see it with these eyes. So people often ask, why I can't see God? We cannot see number of things with these eyes. These eyes have natural limitations. So beyond these mortal eyes, there are subtle vision. So people have subtle vision. So even with subtle vision, one cannot see the divine form. So beyond the subtle vision, there is the divine vision. So it's only with the divine vision that one can see. And that vision is granted only by the divine grace. That's how it is revealed in the Upanishad. That any amount of yoga, ascesis, learning, intelligence, any amount of reading of scriptures, understanding the scriptures, it stops there. The divine vision is when the divine reveals himself. But there is a clue and a hint here, because this is a singular vision if you look at the spiritual literature. So it is given to Arjuna. And how does he qualify for that vision? One may well ask that what are his really, Arjuna is not joined an ashram, he is not practicing some kind of meditation. He is a very skilled archer. He has surrendered himself to Shri Krishna. But as we have heard earlier, when Shri Krishna says that I am revealing these secrets to you because you are dear to me. And he gives him the reason why he is dear to me, because they have fought together the battle of the ages. There is an aphorism of Sri Aurobindo, there are two things perfectly pleasing to God in his devotee and servant. One is those who sweep his temple floors in silent adoration, and the other who fight for him in the battle of the world for the divine consummation in humanity. So Arjuna is the latter kind. He has not chosen the path of ascetic liberation. He has not chosen the door of escape. And therefore to him is given the blessing and the revelation of the world spirit. So what does the world spirit reveal to him? It reveals to him fundamentally that God is in all things are in God, and there is nothing else but God, even things which we find appalling, things which are terrifying, things which, seeing which our heart shakes, even they are the divine. So this is the vastness into which this chapter makes us enter. Otherwise, we have a nice, goody, cleaned up image of God where he is very nice, gentle, benevolent being who is giving us nice boons, doing nice things. But there is this aspect of creation which is terrible. It is the devouring of all that he himself has brought. This idea is there in scriptures, even in synthesis, there is a line like that. And in one of the scriptures, if you see the Devi, we have the image of Kali, we have Chinnamasta, the Divine Mother destroying her own head. She is severing her own head. And she is regarded as the mother of fertility. So you can imagine. So death as a prelude to creation. So without dying, nothing can be new created. So there is this aspect of the divine which appears terrifying. Strangely terrifying when it hits us, but not so terrifying when it hits others, because we often want, wish, hope that there are things you wish had better gone. But who will take them away? Who has the responsibility? It is God who has the responsibility. So it's a very wonderful, very powerful, very poetic, full of magnificent image. But one can imagine when Arjun is seeing it, what happens to him. Even a great warrior of this kind, he begins to shake. So this, we'll just read some passages because it's worth reading fully. So it is invited by Arjuna because after having the highest secret, we are on page 377. So he has been revealed the path, the goal. He has been revealed that all this is the secret Godhead, how he is working in creation. Everything is his masks. He has been especially revealed that in this world there are various divine manifestations. That is the Vibhuti Yoga. And then he asks that he wants to see that vision. And then the word of the avatar, page 378. What thou hast to see, what thou hast to see, replies the avatar, the human eye cannot grasp. So we need to understand this common refrain, very childish actually, that I don't see God. Well, I don't see the love in my heart also. That's silly. So, but that's how people have this. I don't see God, so God doesn't exist. So plenty of things I don't see. I don't see my grandfather actually, but he did exist. So this is the silliest argument, as if my seeing is the criteria of the existence of anything. This is the extreme egocentric view. So the divine, as the avatar says, the human eye cannot see. We have description of the Supreme by the mother, where she says that twice she had a vision of the Supreme, much more magnificent, she says, than the vision of the Gita. So, of course, that is the vision mainly of the Supreme with the world spirit included in it. Here, world spirit is the base and we see the transcendent as part of that. For the human eye can see only the outward appearances of things or make out of them separate symbol forms, each of them significant of only a few aspects of the eternal mystery. But there is a divine eye, an inmost seeing, by which the Supreme Godhead in his yoga can be beheld. And that eye I now give to thee. So he is giving the eye for Arjun to see. And Shri Krishna tells him beforehand that what you are going to see. Thou shalt see. He is telling him. See, it's very interesting. He is telling him in advance. He is not saying, see all this. Somebody else will see this. And that passage I want to read in Sanskrit. Just 4 or 5 lines, but beautiful. So he says, thou shalt see, he says, my hundreds and thousands of divine forms. So each form is a form of the divine. What are these forms? Thou shalt see the Adityas and the Rudras and the Maruts and the Ashwins. Thou shalt see many wonders that none has beheld. Thou shalt see today the whole world related and unified in my body, and whatever else thou willest to behold. This then is the keynote, the central significance. It is the vision of the one in the many in the one, and all are the one. So this vision itself is liberating. In fact, Sri Aurobindo says, it's there in the Gita itself, that until in some way you can behold this vision, if not complete seeing, but in some way to the eye of the mind, till then, invariably something will hold you back. But once it's seen, then nothing can hold any kind of terror or any kind of delusion for the one who has seen it. Yoga liberates. It is this vision that to the eye of the divine yoga liberates, justifies, explains all that is and was and shall be. Once seen and held, it lays the shining axe of God at the root of all doubts and perplexities and annihilates all denials and oppositions. It is the vision that reconciles and unifies. So, firstly, that it naturally, when you see that divine is everything, He is the birth and He is the death, He is the one who preserves the creation, and when it's time, when its purpose is over, He draws it back and then He releases again into creation. So then all this terror that we experience, because we hold on to a very small, narrow understanding of ourselves and the world, goes away. And I am happy that we are reading it today, because with all the turmoil going on in the world, we can understand this much better on the basis of this Vishwa Roop. So now, in the Gita, it is described in a very interesting way. So, when he says, you will behold. So, this vision is described. One second. Yes. This vision is described in words of Sanjay, because he is the one who is the scribe, who is reporting. So he describes that I see 1,000 arms. Just I'll read out, because it's beautiful poetry. One of the most beautiful poetic passages in the Gita. So Sanjaya Uvacha. Sanjay is describing what he is seeing. Eva muktva tato rajan mahayogeshwaro hari. Look at the poetry. Darshayamas parthaya paramam rupameshwaram. That he is saying, what is he saying? Having thus spoken, O King, the great Lord of Yoga, Mahayogeshwaro Hari, showed to Parth is Arjun, as the Lord of the universe. So what does he show to him? Anek vaktra nayanam, anek adbhut darshanam. He is seeing the Lord with many eyes. He is seeing all around. There is nothing that he doesn't see. It's so beautiful. Actually, if you look at it, it's so lovely. Wherever one is there, the divine is there watching over me. He is watching over creation. He is watching over all beings. So I don't have to worry. Sometimes people start worrying, oh, that person is doing something. That's not my concern, because he is watching. And my concern is not even myself, because he is watching. My concern is only about the action that I have to do at the moment. He is watching. We don't have to worry. People often start saying that, I did this, I did that, that person responded like this. This is none of our concern. What I have done, the divine has taken into account, because nothing misses from his eyes. His face is everywhere, meaning thereby he is all over in this universe. And he has many arms, and that arms indicating that there is a dynamic power. Each arm is a dynamic power which is conducting the affairs of the world. All the gods. So, anek vaktra nayanan, anek adbhut darshanam, anek divya bharanam, divya aneko dyuta pritham. With numerous mouths and eyes, with numerous wonderful sights, with numerous divine ornaments, with numerous divine weapons uplifted, divya malyambar dharam, divya gandha anulepam, sarva ascharyam devam anantam vishwato mukham. So he's saying that wearing divine garlands and apparel, anointed with divine fragments, the all wonderful, resplendent, endless, facing all sides. And then he describes something which has become now historic, because the person who had dropped the bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, that the pilot, when he saw the the explosion, he said something that he was reminded of the words of the Gita. And very interestingly, recently a movie had come, Oppenheimer. So Oppenheimer is the person who had made the atom bomb. So he had interest in the Gita, used to read the Gita, and he speaks of this. That, this is the kind of impression he had. Now, if you look at that time on the battlefield, that moment, that time, the divine did come as in a similar way as time the destroyer. So we have this description. Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhave Dyugapa Duttita Yadi Bha Sadrishisa Syad Bhasattasya Mahatmana. The splendor of 1,000 suns was to blaze at once simultaneously in the sky. That would be like the splendor of that mighty being. So in fact it goes on to say, the mother once says that, before the supramental blaze, even our sun will look like a dark spot. So we can imagine, and we have the audacity to talk about supermind so casually, and supermind is working and we are receiving, to receive even a ray of that. At one point in Savitri, Aurobindo says about the Divine Mother in her Vishwarup, that the whole world is lit by a single ray of her sun. So all these they conceal and come to us. Once I had just seen Champaklalji, that time, I don't know, probably it must have been, of course it's an act of grace. And people have had so many such experiences with Aurobindo and the mother, that suddenly his body was radiating all light. And it was impossible to bear it. So I tried to just behold, and I suddenly realized that everything has vanished except a point here in the heart. And then you burst out crying. And this is Champaklalji. So I asked a question, how does he travel? Because he was traveling that time, he had started traveling. Someone told me that, they cover themselves up, they hide themselves. And we see the story of that sannyasi who wanted to visit Sri Aurobindo, and he said, Parashakti has sent me to meet him. And Sri Aurobindo said, no. So people were very perplexed. Parashakti has sent him. Now Parashakti, if it has to send, Sri Aurobindo will know. So he said no. So the sannyasi said, anyway, if it doesn't matter, I will go and see him. And as I climb the steps, I am going to take away all my clothes. And when this was told to Sri Aurobindo, this is his resolve. And Sri Aurobindo says, very inconvenient Parashakti, that this kind of thought and suggestion he is getting. And then as he started climbing, suddenly he runs from 4th or 5th stair, he runs back and ran out. And it seems, he said, he felt such a tremendous blaze and force hitting him so hard. He has not climbed up the stairs. He was just disobeying what Sri Aurobindo had said. And then he ran away saying, I know, I am not ready, I am not ready, I am not ready. And then when Sri Aurobindo was asked, what did you see that you denied him? He's a sannyasi after all, and we people are just like ordinary folks. So Sri Aurobindo says he had nothing in him except the pride of having gone to the 4 tirthas, 4 holy places. That's all. Because he had done a holy pilgrimage and wore the robe of a sannyasi and was wandering like a sadhu, he thought he is qualified. And then he experienced, that itself is a great experience. We have so many, with mother and Sri Aurobindo, so many of such examples. One of them was when a child wanted to see the mother in her original form. And mother said, don't even think of that. But she insisted. And suddenly she fell unconscious because there was such a blaze. And people saw she has got unconscious in the playground. And mother said, leave her. She will recover after some time. So some half an hour or 1 hour she got back and she just remembered there was such a blaze that she couldn't bear it. So this form cannot be just seen by human eyes and forget about bearing that. So Arjuna is so special that he has been chosen as an instrument. Why? Because after the Vibhuti Yoga that is coming, that he has been prepared to be the instrument of that form. So we have next page 379. The supreme form is then made visible. It is that of the infinite Godhead, whose faces are everywhere, and in whom are all the wonders of existence, who multiplies unendingly all the many marvelous revelations of his being. So you see one after another, and so many, there is no end to those wonders. That's how Sri Aurobindo describes once, that there were no wonders when, Shri Krishna would meet him, that he almost got tired of his embraces and his bliss. Then, so many wonders. A worldwide divinity, seeing with innumerable eyes, speaking from innumerable mouths, armed for battle with numberless divine uplifted weapons, glorious with divine ornaments of beauty. So he's not naming what weapons are they. They are all divine. We cannot even imagine what they are. Robed in heavenly raiment of deity, lovely with garlands of divine flowers, fragrant with divine perfumes. Such is the light of this body of God, as if 1,000 suns had risen at once in heaven. And when Sanjay sees this, he says, my hairs are standing on end. He says, I cannot, he describes that so beautifully. Just, yeah. Tata sa vismaya vishta Krishta Roma Dhananjaya Pranamya Shirsa Devam Kritanjala Bharasata. Then Dhananjaya, so he is describing the state of Arjuna when he sees, filled with wonder, with his hair standing on end, bowed down his head to the God and spoke with joined palms. So now he sees, and all his being is all in wonder and amazement. So he says, Sri Aurobindo describes so beautifully, God magnificent and beautiful and terrible, the Lord of souls, who has manifested in the glory and greatness of his spirit this wild and monstrous and orderly and wonderful and sweet and terrible world, because the world is an objectivization of what is inside him, within him. So when we look at, even remembrance of this vision liberates us always from fear, all fear. Whatever be the danger, even if death stands, just imagine before this vision, in Kathopanishad, when Nachiketa asks Yama, tell me about the Supreme Lord. So Yama says, you want to see him? He says, that before which the sun is a dark spot, and the mind and the electrical, those lightnings, and the moon, they have no luster at all. And the sun is a black spot. And then he says, he on whose table heroes and sages are his banquet, and I, death, am the spice. You want me to talk about that glory? It's impossible. It's just impossible. And see, so fortunate we are able to at least hear it. And overcome with marvel and joy and fear, he bows down and adores with words of awe, and with clasped hands the tremendous vision. I see, he cries, all the gods in thy body, O God, and different companies of beings, Brahma, the creating Lord, seated in the lotus, and the rishis, and the race of the divine serpents. I see numberless arms and bellies and eyes and faces. I see thy infinite forms on every side, but I see not thy end, nor thy middle, nor thy beginning. So he is Anantuam. O Lord of the universe, O form universal, I see thee crowned, and with thy mace and thy discus, hard to discern, because thou art a luminous mass of energy on all sides of me, an encompassing blaze, a sun bright, fire bright, immeasurable. So, what about Brahman? Where is Brahman? Thou art the supreme immutable. He knows that in him the Brahman is there. Thou art the supreme immutable, whom we have to know. Thou art the high foundation and abode of the universe. Thou art the imperishable guardian of the eternal laws. Thou art the sempiternal soul of existence. I had once a very small little experience, of course, not this I'm saying, but once a terrorist actually in Patiala, because we were going to celebrate Sri Aurobindo's birthday in the center. And that time all this Punjab problem was going on, Khalistan movement. So one of them came to know, he came because there was a school in which we are going to celebrate. So he came to know, and everybody said, we are okay closing, but this fellow has come, he is in Air Force and all. So he came to my house to say that, see, we have just come to caution you, don't do this, otherwise you face the consequences. I don't know what came over me. I said, we are children of Mahakali, do what you want to do. I said, we are going to have Sri Aurobindo's birthday. And it was so amazing. Everybody was saying, call police. I said, no, when Divine Mother is there, what is there to fear? And we had the birthday, and this fellow came with 6 of his, colleagues. And they stood, and everybody saying, I said, no, we'll just take Mother's name and continue. And strange that with her name, not a trace of fear even for a moment came. And then the whole program was over, everything. In the middle, they went away. Later on, this fellow had come to threaten, became a devotee. I'm telling you a true story. And when Sri Aurobindo's relics came, this fellow, he was so moved. Without anybody noticing, before anybody could notice, he quietly picked up the box and ran away. So we had to chase him. He knew this is some great power. What has happened? And later on he wrote to me an apology letter that I am so sorry I behaved like this. I was posted to Pune. But now I understand the greatness of the Lord. So with the divine consciousness, with the divine being. So this is the beauty of this vision. What can one fear? When you know that He is with you. And He is not just He versus somebody. He alone is. Now that is different from the divine fighting the devil. See the difference. Devil is somebody else. So he is fighting. This is duality. But when the divine has worn the mask of devil and he can tear it off when he wants, there is a big difference. There is no devil. There is no demon. There is only the divine who is wearing all these masks. This is the big difference, the difference between a duality and unity. So this is a unifying vision. So he is himself the devourer. So this is what Sri Aurobindo reveals to us. But in the greatness of the vision, this vision, there is too the terrific image of the destroyer. This immeasurable, without end or middle or beginning, is He in whom all beings begin and exist and end. So this is the liberating vision and terrifying to the ego. So all what Arjun sees, the companies, page 380, the companies of the gods enter it, afraid, adoring. The rishis and the siddhas crying, may there be peace and weal. See, there is a movie which is coming, Narsimha. So, of all the avatars of God, the most terrific is Narsimha. There are only 2 instances where even the gods started running away. It's such a divine manifestation. One is when Kali. So gods start running away because her presence means He is compelling everybody to change. Even gods have their fixed nature. That's why they say they are also under the spell of Maya in some way or the other. And when Kali manifests, they run away, they pray, they do something, then Shiva lies below her feet, and that's how she stops. The second is Narsimha. When Narsimha comes as the slayer of Hiranyakashipu, wearing that leonine form, again all the gods, because that heat, that radiance, that tremendous energy is so powerful that all the gods start praying, do something, and he's unstoppable. And then Shiva takes the Sharab avatar. So they both have a fight. then finally, he cools down. So that's one part. Another version is that Prahlad, when he comes and he takes him in the lap, he cools down. So if you read the Vaishnava literature, it is Prahlad. If you read the Shaiva literature. So somebody recently wrote this question that who among the two is more powerful? Sharab or, nursing? I said, if you read the Gitas, then Krishna is all encompassing. You will forget all others. Because look at this, there is such a unity, there is no other there. All is himself, all is his mask, all is his glory, all is his manifestation. It is by his strength that Hiranyakashipu is laboring. He has to just do nothing but withdraw it and he will collapse. So that's the description here we see. All the gods are running to him and saying, please, please, praise it with many praises. The eyes of gods and titans and giants are fixed on it in amazement. It has enormous, burning eyes. It has mouths that gape to devour, terrible with many tusks of destruction. It has faces like the fires of death and time. So when Aurobindo was asked about this, and he was asked, do you also have a Vishwarup like that? He says, yes, but it's not so appalling like Shri Krishna. So that was his. So this was the contingency of time for which, he had manifested like that. The kings and the captains and the heroes on both sides of the world battle are hastening into its tusked and terrible jaws, and some are seen with crushed and bleeding heads caught between its teeth of power. And then comes what is contextual and relevant. The nations are rushing to destruction with helpless speed into its mouths of flame, like many rivers hurrying in their course towards the ocean, or like moths that cast themselves on a kindled fire. You see, when people often say, now also so many things are happening, they say this nation, he is doing this. If you once read this, you are so reassured. We don't have to worry. When he decides, the most powerful nations can fall, crumble like this. There is a writing of Aurobindo, Marbles of Time, where he describes time is sitting in a big hall and it's picking up a nation, keeping it aside, picking up another, throwing out of the window. You see, this is what happens. And people wonder, no, how can it be? So I tell them, look behind. Just even in documented history, forget about the Mahabharata and Ramayana time and Atlantis, but look at the documented history. There was a time when the Mughals came trampling with their hooves all over. Greeks came. And he believed, Alexander, that I am the son of Zeus, Indra, God, and nobody can defeat me. All that is left is the Colosseum. Or that, republic where people in Athens. The Mughal armies came like locusts. And you'll be surprised that the last Mughal emperor's descendants, he is selling tea in one of the villages in Uttar Pradesh. He's a descendant. Could they have ever imagined? Okay, look at Rome, regarded as the most organized and powerful military in the world at that point of time, without a doubt. And look, where is all that gone? And last but not the least, look at Britain, imperialism. It was said that the sun never sets in the British Empire. Not only has it set, but it is sinking so fast. All this is who's doing? My personal thing is that when the day they tied a rope to Sri Aurobindo, they did exactly what Duryodhan tried to do with Krishna. Exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. You look at the whole irony of things. And from that moment, it was inevitable, the fate. And look, where is the empire today? Conditions will be created, situations will emerge, things will happen. So we often worry, oh, this is so mighty. Nobody is high and mighty forever. And this is the reminder that, well, be not proud, be an instrument to the divine. And he is saying nations are rushing into his mouth, rushing towards self-destruction. Look at it. Nobody else is needed to destroy. You will destroy yourself because such is the will of the Lord. See, look at, when the will of the Lord, the nations are rushing to destroy. With those burning mouths, the form of dread is licking all the regions around. The whole world is full of his burning energies and baked in the fierceness of his lusters. The world and its nations are shaken and its anguish with the terror of destruction, and Arjun shares in the trouble and panic around him. Troubled and in pain is the soul within him, and he finds no peace or gladness. He cries to the dreadful Godhead, declare to me who thou art that wearest this form of fierceness. Even a warrior like Arjun, who has been prepared so much for this moment, he cannot bear. So he says, salutations to thee, O thou great Godhead, turn thy heart to grace. I would know who thou art, who wast from the beginning, for I know not the will of thy working. So now he says that, why have you come here? He thought it's just a battle going on and it's between two families, we'll sort it out. It should have been avoided because he wanted to escape the battle. He said, what's the point of fighting this battle where only our own people are on both sides? He said, I don't want to fight the battle. So what is he revealing? He is saying, such is my will. So now he reveals himself. Who are you? He says, destruction. Kalosmi. Why have you come? Lok shaykrit pravradho. I am increasing to destroy these peoples. Now, Aurobindo will reveal it's not that Krishna is destruction. He has come wearing the mask of destruction. He is also the benevolent creator, all that he will reveal to us. So, but basically here, Aurobindo makes it clear and Sri Krishna reveals that, well, it is God's will that they do. And when it is his will, nothing can withstand in the way. So, what if Arjun chooses that I don't want to be the instrument of this destruction? Well, the vision reveals that it will be. You want as if by your not doing it, things won't happen? You think these fellows will not die? They will die. As clear as that. Because such is the decree. In fact, he goes on to say, if you don't participate, it will only create more confusion, but my will be done. Because you are a chosen instrument, you are the best for this job description. He also wonders, why have you chosen me for this? He says, well, this is my will. I have arisen to destroy these people. And even if you don't participate, I'll end up doing what I am here to do. Nobody can prevent it. Nobody stands in my way. So he says, but I am giving you the privilege, the honor, the joy of being the instrument. So that is the purport of the vision. That once God wills, nothing can. There is a very powerful mother's message, I think 55, she gave this message. She first said that in 54, the next 14 months are going to be very difficult. Exactly after 14 months, the supermind manifested. And then she says, no human will can finally prevail against the divine will. Put yourself deliberately on the side of the divine and the victory will be yours. And see the beauty of that message. She doesn't say divine should be on my side. That's not relevant. I should be on the side of the divine. That's what is known as which side of history you stand. So here he says that, well, who are you, the ancient of the days? Sanatanam Purusham Purano. So he is seeing him and he is seeing him as the... And it is this last aspect, page 381, which he puts forward at the moment. A very powerful description. It is an aspect from which the mind in men willingly turns away and ostrich-like hides its head so that perchance not seeing it may not be seen by the terrible. We have in our Indian thought, we have Shani Dev. So people often are afraid. But Shani Dev is the child of Surya. So Shani is the Lord of justice. So without the balancing of the scales, you cannot have the reign of sun. So he has to first sort out. So he's not a bad guy, he's a good guy. He's also one of the Navagrahas. In fact, he is given the difficult task of making, and nothing gets hidden from him. That's the beauty of, he doesn't spare anyone, not even his own father. He doesn't spare anyone. So, this is how it is, that there is this aspect. So he's asking us not to run away from this. The weakness of the human heart wants only fair and comforting truths, or in their absence, pleasant fables. It will not have the truth in its entirety, because there is much that is not clear and pleasant and comfortable, but hard to understand and harder to bear. The raw religionist, the superficial optimistic thinker, the sentimental idealist, the man at the mercy of his sensations and emotions, agree in twisting away from the sterner conclusions, the harsher and fiercer aspects of world existence. So this is what we see today happening. And people want, oh, let there be peace, let there be peace, let there be peace. He will tell when peace will come. Peace cannot come by this process and this method. Peace is not a wishful thinking. The heart of man must deserve peace. If peace comes prematurely, it will be bungled up. So that's where Indian spirituality knows that God is love and peace and calm eternity. The Gita, which presents us with these terrible images, speaks of the Godhead who embodies himself in them as the lover and friend of all creatures. So it's not that this is the only aspect. This is at that moment in the manifestation, divine has taken this form. Because this is a description of many garlands, many perfumes, all the gods and wonderful things that he is seeing inside. But what is the in manifestation at this point of time? He has arisen as God the terrible. That's what it means. But there is too the sterner aspect of his divine government of the world, which meets us from the beginning, the aspect of destruction, and to ignore it is to miss the full reality of the divine love and peace and calm. See, this image in so many ways. One of them is Aurobindo's poem Epiphany. So it's about Shiva. Shiva is sitting and everybody is benevolent. He is very benevolent. No, Asura comes and he gives a boon. Everybody gives a boon. Ashutosh. And then says, suddenly he wakes up and shakes the javelin. And there is the reigning of terror, and all these Asuras and Rakshasas and the gods start praying to him that, please, calm down, quieten down. So there are these two sides of the same divine reality, and they are there in the world in its manifestation. And there comes a stage when man is able to bear it. See, Vivekananda, he was one of the vibhutis of Shiva, Rudra. So that's why he was an iconoclast, destroying almost everything. He destroyed many old things, brought out the truth from them. Sanatana Dharma, he brought out the truth, not the externalities of things which are outdated at that point of time. So, toward the last part of his life, after he visits Kheer Bhavani in Kashmir and Amarnath, then he says, oh Mother Kali, come rain on me misery, and he starts loving that aspect. He invites Kali on himself. Misery, ruin, whatever it is, I am prepared, let thy will be done. See how difficult it is. So we know that within a couple of years, this world of our battle and labor is a fierce, dangerous, destructive, devouring world in which life exists precariously, and the soul and body of man move among enormous perils. A world in which by every step forward, whether we will it or no, something is crushed and broken. In which every breath of life is a breath too of death. Now he says something very beautiful. To put away the responsibility for all that seems to us evil or terrible on the shoulders of a semi-omnipotent devil, or to put it aside as part of nature, making an unbridgeable opposition between world nature and God nature, as if nature were independent of God, or to throw the responsibility on man and his sins, as if he had a preponderant voice in the making of this world, or could create anything against the will of God, are clumsily comfortable devices in which the religious thought of India has never taken refuge. It's only recently that we hear such things of karma and all this is relatively recent. That, pass the buck to this kind of duality. Asura is not the last word. Last word is unity. So this is not India's thought. This is forever. That is a Manichean creator who has forever a fight between good and evil, Ahur Mazda, or divine and the demon. But that's not how the final thought. There are the demons. But ultimately, they are both reconciled in the one reality. We have to look courageously in the face of the reality and see that it is God and none else who has made this world in his being, and that so he has made it. We have to see that nature devouring her children, time eating up the lives of creatures, death universal and ineluctable, and the violence of the Rudra forces in man and nature are also the supreme Godhead in one of his cosmic figures. See, you can see it actually when, I remember once when there was a cyclone here, terrible cyclone, not the tsunami. Actually, when you see these images impersonally, I don't know, I get a feeling it's one of the ways Kali is coming. And the image is so powerful that almost I feel like flinging myself. You see that image of the gigantic onrush of water and storm and tornado. What a tremendous force there is, before which nothing can stand. All these structures man has made, nothing can stand. It's nothing else but Rudra and Kali. And when we look at it like that, I remember coming during that cyclone, everybody, no, this may happen, that. I have a chance to, I was in Bhubaneswar, I had a chance to see Kali in this form. By the time you come, there was only a trail of destruction. So there is this aspect of the divine, which is there in life and we cannot deny it. So that's what Aurobindo is reminding us. That then when you have seen the mask, then you can see the Godhead. It is only when we see with the eye of the complete union and feel this truth in the depths of our being that we can entirely discover behind that mask too the calm and beautiful face of the all blissful Godhead. And in this touch that tests our imperfection, the touch of the friend and builder of the spirit in man. Look at what a beautiful thing it is. The discords of the worlds are God's discords. He is the one who raises the discord and for a higher harmony, are God's discords. And it is only by accepting and proceeding through them that we can arrive at the greater concords of his supreme harmony, the summits and thrilled vastnesses of his transcendent and his cosmic ananda. So this is it. And so when he asks, who are you? Everybody is terrified. Page 383. He says, destruction, replies the Godhead, is the will of my workings. He doesn't say, I am destruction. He says, this is the will. Why have I come? I am telling you. I have come to destroy. In the entire Kurukshetra, out of 18 adjoining, only 18 survived. He says, I am, with which I stand here on this field of Kurukshetra, the field of the working out of the dharma, the field of human action. And then last 3 lines on this page. I as time have to destroy the old structures and to build up a new mighty and splendid kingdom. Old structures have their own validity in their time. Nothing is forever. All is dated. So an empire at one point of time leaves just ruins and a doubtful story behind. And this is a lesson in humility, that all nations and heads of nations hope they listen to the Gita, that it's not forever. So, I as time have to destroy the old structures. Thou as a human instrument of the divine power and wisdom has in this struggle which thou canst not prevent to battle for the right and slay and conquer its opponent. He says, I have decided. So he says that few lines below, therefore arise, get thee glory, conquer thy enemies and enjoy an opulent kingdom. By me and none other already even are they slain. Do thou become the occasion only, O Savyasachin, slay by me who are slain, Dron, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna and other heroic fighters. Be not pained and troubled. Fight, thou shalt conquer the adversary in the battle. So this is where he gives the final verdict. That all this is all, we are playing a fixed match. Somebody in the ashram used to say that, we are playing the fixed match, and that match it's won by the divine. We are only instruments. So we can become, this is what is given to us. Not to worry about what may happen, what will happen. What will happen? Divine will happen. And divine will is always for the best. And he says very clearly, page 385, whoever prematurely attempts to get rid of this law of battle and destruction strives vainly against the greater will of the world spirit. So that's what he says in Savitri, after we have served this great divided world, God's bliss and oneness are our inborn right. You can't come out of it prematurely. Well, so what then is the master man, the divine worker, the open channel of the universal will to do? When he finds the world spirit turned towards some immense catastrophe, figured before his eyes as time the destroyer. So we see how Aurobindo, even during Second World War, he sent some of the disciples, their children into the war. Durai Swami Iyer was one of them. And he died. It's very interesting that his plane was shot in France, and he fell there, and they had his grave built there, because that's how they used to that time. And then recently, see how it happens, after 50 years of the war, there was all this identification that people could be taken away. Then his mortal remains were taken out from his grave and brought to India. See how, and I met after that they had come to the ashram. And Durai Swami Iyer was supposed to be King Janak and Chandragupta in his previous life. He is the one who would come for the Saturday, Sunday meetings with Aurobindo. And he was a great, famous advocate, in Madras High Court. And then once a telegram came for him that, he is required urgently. Saturday the telegram came, and Durai Swami replies. He says, reply, Durai Swami is dead. He will come alive again on Monday. Exactly like King Janak said when he was faced with sitting with Astavakra. Mithila is burning. He said, but Janak is dead. And then he says, you are not bothered. He said, I am sitting at the feet of my master. Should I be bothered? That is the kind of spirit that we see awakened with these passages. Page 386. They who have sown the wind must reap the whirlwind. So it's not like it's just a meaningless restriction. You have a time till which you can mend. And there is a recoil, a boomerang. And it is so evident in history. Actually, just by reading history, one can understand this. When you read about Chengiz Khan going all the way, what a tyrant, he would drink the blood of his own horse who is driving him, and then pinch the vein so that, it continues to drive. His pastime was to make elephants fall. And when they would cry and shout, because they've fallen, poor fellows, he would take joy in that. Where is he? Where is his empire? Where are the people? This is how time operates. But there is a time why this happens, because you have to break old. That was the time of empires. So the divine will was to build empires. Now is the time for the nation unit. You try to build empire through whether military war or trade war, it will boomerang. Because now we are moving towards world unity through other means. So that was the time. And you see, all empires were supported by the divine will, whichever way. So, That which in thy egoism thou thinkest, saying, I will not fight, page 386. Vain is this thy resolve, nature shall yoke thee to thy work. Bound by thy own action, which is born of the law of thy being, what from delusion thou desirest not to do, that thou shalt do even perforce. I was saying this in context of India. We should not look at it politically, but some time back, the present Prime Minister had said, when I am 75, he made a rule that anybody 75 should withdraw. And it was a sensible thing in that sense that, old man, govern, you are not ready and able precedence. So that time, I said, see, situations will be created. If he is needed, he has to continue. And if he goes, somebody else will come. It's not a man, it's the divine will. It will build up, bring up anyone. It's not about this person or this party. When the moment arrives, that's what he speaks of in the hour of God. Now comes few lines below. This passage which was so, Mother loved this passage. And when people asked about when will wars end, she said, haven't they read what Aurobindo has said? Then the disciple takes out the passage. He says, yes, this is so nice. And she laughed. This is the passage. What is this passage? No real peace can be till the heart of man deserves peace. The law of Vishnu cannot prevail till the debt to Rudra is paid. Rudra forces are the forces that have kneaded the world. All that we see, the moon, beautiful moon, asteroids flung against each other, violent storms, upheavals, they have actually churned matter. And they continue to act within man. They are the forces of violence. And as long as man does not turn these forces to conquer himself, that's what we see in that dream for Auroville and ashram. Originally in the ashram, then Auroville also. That where the warring instincts of man will be turned solely towards conquering his own defects. As long as man doesn't do it, there cannot be peace. You cannot do peace by peace treaty. Any amount of peace treaty you may do, after that life will be usual, there will be the same casino, pornography, joy, life, comfort. Again the Rudra will come. As long as these instincts are there, they have to be changed and turned inward towards self-conquest. If not, it will strike. So that's what is meant by the law of Vishnu cannot prevail till the debt to Rudra is paid. To turn aside then and preach to a still unevolved mankind the law of love and oneness? Teachers of the law of love and oneness there must be, for by that way must come the ultimate salvation. But not till the time spirit in man is ready can the inner and ultimate prevail over the outer and immediate reality. Christ and Buddha have come and gone, but it is Rudra who still holds the world in the hollow of his hand. And meanwhile, the fierce forward labor of mankind, tormented and oppressed by the powers that are profiteers of egoistic force, and their servants cries for the sword of the hero of the struggle and the word of its prophet. Look what happened. Christ taught the great gospel of compassion and divine love. And look how the Christians, you see, when you read how they had to fight that famous war against the Ottoman Empire, the Balkans. I mean, they were pushed to a point. I'm not talking of inquisitions, which obviously once you release these forces, what happens? How they had to fight. And that person, I'm forgetting his name, one of the Wazir popes, who says that we need some 1,000 people or some few thousand with whatever weapons. And tens of thousands came. This is one of the wars they fought in the name of holy war. But look at it that as long as human, otherwise the only way is if you follow that way, then the Ottoman Empire would have crushed everything. It has receded. Even now you see in Tibet, how long will you practice just the way of the Buddha? So people are feeling the heat, the uprising in several places. So this is what he is reminding us. The highest way appointed for him. So what is it? Our take-home point is to carry out the will of God without egoism. That's all. Whatever be the will. Without egoism, as the human occasion and instrument of that which he sees to be decreed. With the constant supporting memory of the Godhead in himself and man. Mam, Anusmaram, So remember the divine and fight the great battle of life. This is the command. And in whatever ways are appointed for him by the Lord of his nature, Nimitta matram bhava sabyasachi. We are just instruments and channels. We have to offer ourselves to the divine. His is the victory of failure. His is success and failure. His is victory and defeat. But do our work that is given to us without shrinking and without hate and anger and violence in the heart. He will not cherish personal enmity. That's what is important. Anger, hatred, egoistic desire and passion. Will not hasten towards strife or lust after violence and destruction like the fierce Asura. But he will do his work, Lok Sangraha. So what is important is to make sure that there is no hate, anger, all these personal elements. It's not about fighting a personal battle. It's about fighting a battle where you believe, you stand for what is true and beautiful and right, free of all fear, free of all hate. Beyond the action, he will look towards that to which it leads, that for which he is warring. For God, the time spirit, does not destroy for the sake of destruction, but to make the ways clear in the cyclic process for a greater rule and a progressing manifestation. Rajyam Samraddham. So this is the first aspect of the vision. Then of course after this will come the more benevolent, benign vision of the Godhead, which we will read next time. Jai Ma.